Scott Boda here with Steeda Autosports to talk to you about a simple but often overlooked step when you're working on your car's suspension. So we're here to talk to you today about a simple step that's often overlooked, but something we get a lot of tech calls and questions about. It's torquing your car at curb. What does that mean? Well, quite simply, you want your suspension to be at curb or in its natural position when you go ahead and torque things down. Now, back in the old days, you didn't really have to worry about this, right? You had a center sleeve that pivoted on a bushing. Nowadays, manufacturers actually have the bushing bonded to the sleeve. So what that means is that when this sleeve moves, the bushing is actually stretching. You'll find that on a lot of components on the S550 and S650 Mustang. We're looking at our camber arm right here, where both ends, your sleeve and your cone spacer, are literally bonded to the bushing. So oftentimes when you disassemble this item, you're just gonna have your suspension right, it's in full droop, and you're just gonna bolt that together, torque it down. The problem with that is you're creating an artificial spring rate, because now the camber arm in this case wants to be hanging down. You go and put the car back on the ground, and now it's under tension, and it's actually trying to raise back up, in this case, the rear of the car. We're gonna show you in a simple demonstration what that actually does. We're gonna go ahead and torque down this camber arm in a rear subframe with it at curb and show you its range of motion. Then we're gonna torque it, like let's say you're installing a set of Steeda progressive lowering springs, and the suspension's in droop. You throw in your springs, bolt back up the subframe before you get the wheel and tire on. You're gonna torque this down to spec, but it's actually hanging down at an angle. We're gonna show you how that can affect not only the ride of your car, but the looks of it as well. We bolted this down, we torqued it to 85 foot-pounds, and it really wants to stay in one place, right? It has some movement up and down. Now Ford even went ahead and put serrations right here on the face of this bushing sleeve. What that does is when you tighten that mounting bracket, it's going to lock these teeth into the steel, preventing it from moving up and down. It's only going to be the deflection of that bushing allowing it to move up and down. Now, it doesn't just stop with the camber arm. On the S550 and 650s, your vertical links, your factory vertical links, also have those types of bushings where you need to make sure that you do torque it back down at curb. The spindle end of the toe link also needs to be torqued at curb. Let's say you removed your lower control arms, installed one of our Steeda lower control arm heavy duty bearings. Same thing. That front mount will need to be torqued at curb, otherwise, once again, you're introducing an artificial spring rate. The other thing is, think about it. You got your car up in the air, right? Suspension's in full droop. You start bolting these things together and then you go to lower it back down the ground, your car might actually be riding a 1/4 inch or 1/8 of an inch higher. You don't want that. Not only that, is if you didn't replace these factory items, you're gonna wear out those bushings a lot quicker. So from a durability standpoint, you really wanna make sure you get the car back down on the ground. If you got a set of race ramps, they come in super handy. The best way to accomplish this is with a drive-on lift. Now, any alignment shop can help you with that if you bring your car in and let them know it needs to be done. If not, a set of race ramps, or if you got an open trailer, pull the front of the car up or the back of the car up. It allows you to get to those areas to try to torque all these things as close to curb as possible. Like I said, not only does it provide more life for your bushings, it's gonna give you the proper ride and the proper ride height you're looking for. Now, let's say you don't have stock components. Let's say you upgrade to Steeda vertical links. Well, Steeda vertical links are a little bit different than factory, right? Whether you go for the Delrin version or the urethane bushing, all of our kits are designed to pivot on that center sleeve. What that does is allow for better suspension compliance. The suspension is going to be able to actually react quicker. What that means is better handling, more precise control. It actually is better feedback to the driver. Our vertical links are like that. Our toe links are like that. With the bearing at the one end, as you can see, it can move, it can pivot. Same thing with our camber arms. Once again, we've got a hat type spacer where the camber arm can actually pivot on that axis. So if you've got something like camber arms, vertical links, and toe links, then you actually can torque that with the car in full droop. But if you've got factory camber arms, toe links, vertical links, it is super, super important to torque your car at curb each and every time. Now, there are a couple locations that torquing it to curb isn't super important. You've got your rear lower control arm mount. Now that's kind of like a Johnny joint, right? You've actually got a ball in there and it's actually allowed to rotate and pivot. The same thing with your sway bar end links. Sway bar end links, they're gonna pivot, they're gonna move. You don't have to torque to curb, but if you're under there already torquing everything to curb, go ahead and torque those end links to curb as well. Because not all the time is your sway bar hole going to be a precise fit to that sway bar end link. So you want everything nice and compressed, go ahead in there and torque everything down. It just ensures everything's gonna be trouble-free. Same thing with the toe link. The toe link on the inboard side, that also too has a pivot point where it actually will rotate. But that's really only 2 or 3 spots of that entire rear suspension. So with that artificial spring rate, right? So you threw it all together, you did not torque the car at curb. When you're at your ride height and you go to hit a bump, it's going to prevent the ability of the camber arm to pivot up properly, or any of the items for that. So it's actually going to want to kind of bunny hop down the road like you're riding on a buckboard. Now, that might not be a huge problem if your car is brand new, but let's face it, S550s, they've been out for 9 years now. So some of these bushings already, have seen a lot of miles. So you can tear your bushings, destroy them. Now you're gonna end up with a clunk. You're gonna end up in a rattle. It's gonna cost you a lot of money to try to fix it. So make sure you take your time, torque everything at curb, and do it right, because that's gonna give you the most longevity, the best ride, and the proper ride height for your Mustang. So we've been focusing on the rear suspension, but can't forget the front suspension either. Let's say you're installing a Steeda K member. Those front tension and lateral links, those also need to be torqued at curb, because the center sleeve is once again bonded to that bushing. And now let's not forget about your sway bars. Ford actually bonds that sway bar bushing to the sway bar itself, giving it an artificial spring rate. It actually helps compensate. Now, if you're installing a set of Steeda adjustable sway bar end links, you need to make sure, once again, that's torqued at curb. Otherwise, your sway bar is going to be under constant tension when it should be neutral when you're at a static ride height. You tighten everything with the suspension hanging down, and then you put it back on the ground, you're gonna have an artificial spring rate there, once again, stressing out those bushings. Well, if you put on a set of Steeda front and rear sway bars, you don't need to worry about that. Similar to these, our bushings are not bonded to the bar. Just use our high quality bushing grease, and it's gonna provide you for years of trouble-free performance. So hopefully that provides some clarity about why such a simple thing is so important. Durability, ride quality, and ride height. Just take your time and do it right. So hit like, subscribe, follow us on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. Remember the most important thing, Steeda, where speed matters.